Aloha, beautiful women unleashed. It's Amber, Queen Marlene Benici, and welcome to our session today. Really excited to have you. If this is your first time, welcome, sister. You made it. Congratulations. Just honoring you for taking the time for yourself, and that this retreat is really about you. It's about you slowing down. It's about you connecting and realigning with what's most important to you, and then taking action from that place. And today's session, we're going to be tapping into practical spirituality. It's not just spirituality, but practical spirituality. And we're going to learn a little bit more about that as well as experience some of that. So make sure, as far as your materials, you have your journal that you're using, your, any coloring goodies, things you have, beverage of choice. Today, I am drinking Earl Grey tea. Selina, what are you drinking today?
I'm not drinking anything right now, but have you ever had Lady Grey tea?
No, tell me about the lady.
Lady Grey was introduced to me through one of my photography clients years ago. And it is also made by Twinings. And it has a kind of lemony floral Earl Grey, and it's fabulous. I always love turning people onto Lady Grey because
I think I will try the lady.
Yes, I think you might like that.
I think I'm going to check her out, checking out the lady. All right, so ladies, we like to go ahead and start by getting present and grounded so you can really receive the information you need today. I really believe that being present is a superpower. And if you're present, you're able to tune in, hear things that you need in the moment. And so I'm going to help you today just get grounded like we do every single session before I get to introduce you to our sessions guide and jump right on in. So if you want to with me just for a moment, close your eyes. And anything that's been going on before this session, any energy or any thoughts that are still back earlier in the day or in the week, let's inhale in, and together exhale and let that go. And then noticing if there's any energy that you're worried about to come. It could be during this session, or it can be something later in the day, the week, the month. Anything that's pulling your energy from this moment, let's inhale in. And exhale together, let that go. And our third and final breath, inhaling, smelling this moment, this time together. Nowhere else to be, nothing else to do. Inhale in. And exhale. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. You're already closed. Open your eyes. And we can go ahead and dive on in. And I want to start off by introducing our session guide. We've already heard her glowing review of Lady Grey tea, but however, there's more to Selina.
More than tea to share today. Yes.
More than that, right?
Yes.
So happy to introduce you to Selina Maitreya. Is that how I pronounce your name?
Perfect.
Yeah. Selina Maitreya. She's an internationally celebrated lecturer. She's an author and teacher of practical spirituality, which we're going to work with today. And practical spirituality is a transformational teaching that really utilizes like your daily life as a practice for like increasing your consciousness, connecting to higher wisdom. She's had students of practical spirituality learn kind of how to identify and access that wisdom, that deeper knowing. 24/7, right? So living lives that are based in true abundance and spirituality. We're gonna talk about abundance, but like what is like true abundance, yeah? And then Selina, she also has this really cool, this other background as, helping photographers and doing all sorts of cool things. So she's a creative at heart, she's spiritual and she's creative at heart. So Selina, welcome, happy to have you.
Thank you so very much. I'm excited to be here. This is a wonderful place to be, and what a wonderful gift you're giving people. So thank you for that. Wonderful work you do.
Thank you. I'm going to receive that right now.
Yes,
I'm working.
Absolutely. Sit in that glow, my dear. Sit in that glow. Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm, when Selina, when you and I first spoke, it was really interesting because I thought we were getting on the phone to talk about photography, but we ended up talking about spirituality, which was awesome. And it was this whole other thing. It's like one of those divine moments that, connections. But what I really loved about when you and I were speaking is you talked about practical spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a lot of people, I'm in communities in conscious communities where we have a connection with spirit, right? It might be God, source, whatever. Everyone has their own connection. And yet there's there's the head knowledge of reading stuff and trying to make yourself better by reading and trying to understand things versus practical down, this is what it is, kind of making the change thing. And I think that there's this disconnect between the two. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you and I were talking, you were actually about the doing and the taking action, which is really about what the retreat is about. It's not just about thinking about something, it's about doing it. And so that's why I was like, oh, this is awesome. We're going to touch on spirituality, but from the taking action perspective and the actual connecting perspective. So really excited to kind of jump on in and learn more about practical spirituality. So welcome and thank you.
Well, pleasure. And it's such a delight because practical spirituality is unique, and most people don't have an understanding of what it is until I speak with them. And you have just nailed it. You just totally nailed it, Amber, because practical spirituality is a unique method for directly accessing your higher wisdom 24/7. And my students are generally heart-centered women who are entrepreneurs and coaches and leaders. They're healers and spiritual teachers. And they understand that the choices that they make in their lives create the next moment of their experience. But as you said, they may have been reading lots of books and taking lots of workshops, and they're on a path, but they have yet to learn how to integrate everything that they know into their lives. And it's not surprising, because when we think about the onset of consciousness, there's an arc to how consciousness has entered our world. And there's also a place where we are as beings when we receive information. And we have had lives where we're so grounded in our intellect, and we're so grounded in our emotional body, and we're so grounded in our mind, which is the vehicle that rehashes all of our pain. So we're taught from a very early age to use these tools to respond to life. When chaos happens and irritation pops up and difficulties or even tragedies happen, we try to think our way out of them. We emotionally respond to them, but we're not taught how to tap into our higher wisdom. So when people get the knock or the tap or the heavy slap upside the face to open up and to come to spirituality, they access it the way that they know. They read about it. They sign up for workshops. But there comes a point in a spiritual person's life where they know this isn't enough. I want to be the values that I hold. I want my life to be a reflection of those values that I hold so dear. And practical spirituality teaches a student how to actualize their spirituality. And the way we do this is by having a very simple core belief, which is that we are responsible for our entire lives. And our choices in each moment create the next opportunity that's going to arise. So when we learn how to make a shift and how to shift from responding to life from emotions and intellect and past pain, and we learn how to respond from higher wisdom, then the next moment that we create is a very different one. So through practical spirituality, I teach students how to respond to everything that appears in their life from one of the many physical manifestations of love. And that may look like abundance, it may look like understanding, it may look like tolerance or compassion or kindness. The physical manifestation of love might be wisdom, it might be gratitude, it might be grace. What happens when we learn how to respond to life from those states, which are high frequency vibration, we become them. So think about it for a moment. Because we have so many different times throughout the day where there's difficulty or irritation or we're challenged. Maybe we get up in the morning and we're fresh and we're full. Our spiritual bank account is 100%. And we have places to go. So we're maybe a little late. Maybe you're a little late and you rush out the door. And so as you're rushing, you're starting to stress. Well, your spiritual bank account just went down 10%. You get in the car and you're really starting, the person in front of you is really slow, which is what always happens when we're late. The person in front of us is always slow. And there's another 20%. And as you're trying to calm yourself down because you know that you want to be in a very positive vibration, when you get to work, the person in front of you cuts you off and you get startled and suddenly you're shooting them the finger, cursing at them, and there's another 35% and you're wondering, who is this person behind the wheel? So then you get to work, and as you rush through the door, the person in front of you doesn't hold the door, and you start to really have a real strong judgment about them. And there's another 15%. And by the time you land at wherever you want to be, you've kind of gone through about 75% of your energy, and it's only 10 o'clock. So this is not an uncommon occurrence for people, whether you have children, whether you have elderly people, whether you have teenagers, whether you have financial situations that are challenging or a health situation. We all have stuff. And our response to that really is a representation of whether we're able to open up to the abundance that we are or not. So if you could think about the fact that if each one of the times that you see yourself in judgment or of yourself or of other people, or you see yourself getting angry or stressed or frustrated, you were able to respond from understanding and from kindness, from tolerance, you can see that you would then have opportunities to be in higher frequency. And when you respond to life like that, your life is abundant. It can't not be. So it's very easy to talk about this. I'm sure there are a lot of people that are relating to this. They're seeing the stress levels. They're understanding about how maybe they don't feel very authentic all the time because they hold a belief, or they teach their students a certain belief, or they do Reiki and they're passing on high energy, but then they leave and they realize they're not in their life a representation of that. So you may see different experiences that are ringing true for you. But what really a lot of people are probably thinking is, well, that's great, but how do you get there? And that really is the big work, because we are people who are, we're energy in form. And while we're high vibrational energy that landed in a physical body, we have an experience in this body. We have several experiences. We have a history in this body that's anything other than divine in certain ways. And so it's going to take a lot of attention and observation and commitment over time to be able to notice your frequencies at any point, and then to choose to shift your frequency. But what happens as you go through that process of observation and awareness of where you're at, and learning how to simply reply to whatever comes up from a frequency of high vibration, your life changes amazingly.
Oh.
I've been doing this work for 25 years, Amber, and it's crazy when I look back as to what my life looked like and how it is now. And I'm kind of curious for you, Amber, is this relating to you? Are you seeing times in your life where even as highly elevated as you are, you might experience some stress?
That's a little funny. Yeah, I wouldn't call myself highly elevated. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I find like that yeah, right. We all have this experience of like thinking that we want to do something and then like not doing it, right? So where this shows up most for me, that's like a super giant mirror in my face, is my kids.
Yeah.
And particularly my oldest, who...
How old is she?
My son, he is 11.
Okay, 11.
Yeah, and I think that he was put on this planet. Part of the reason was for my own spiritual PhD, right? So
that's what our kids are.
I will be all in love. I will be all in patience. I'll be in my space, and then he'll say something like, "No, I'm not gonna do," or whatever his sassy, the sassy thing comes out. I'm just like, "Nah," And there are moments when I am very reactionary, like what you're talking about, and I'm just like, I can't believe I just did that. I'm just like, I hurt him, and I've said something really terrible, and then I beat myself up because I'm like, no, I really, that speaks. So there are those times, and then there are also times that you're talking about where it's almost like I'm able to pull back a little bit, and it's like I'm saying, okay, take a breath. And then I actually open up. I'm like, okay, spirit, I have no idea what the heck to do with this kid right now. Like, I need help. And when I'm able to open in that way, then I'm able to help him. Um, and still, there's so many times that I don't,
Right.
So I
And so
totally.
yeah, and the times when you don't are the great opportunity to ask what frequency of love shall I give myself? Because
Ooh,
the more each time we are not able to be in a frequency of love, because the idea here is that when we're starting out, we're anything but able to do that. This is a very big practice. And so when we're not able to be in a frequency of love to somebody else, we get to say, what frequency of love can I hold for myself, because I wasn't able to be there. And then you bring the frequency in. And actually, the gift that I have for everybody is a practice that teaches us how to use the frequencies of love and how to bring an energy in, because it's not enough for us, once again, to stay in our head and say, okay, we want to recognize that we weren't there, and then we want to be kind to ourselves, and then just go off. But the next step is, how do you be kindness to yourself? What does it feel like to bring that in? How do you bring that frequency in? And that's what the gift is that I have for everybody, is a practice that will fill you with high vibrational energy, so that if you see yourself out of alignment in any way, and most of us could just use this practice every day, just from walking in the world each day with all of the things we're bombarded by. So you want to fill yourself with that frequency in that moment of kindness. And that way you actually are building your spiritual bank account. So the practice of noticing where you are at with your son is great. But the second piece of that is, what do you do to be kind to Amber? How does Amber fill herself up so that the next time she doesn't have the need to lash out or not be there? So yes, we can go to spirit and ask, but over time, because we are spirit and spirit is within us, we just have to tap in over time. But the reality is that we have to work towards that. And part of that is giving ourselves grace. There's a great story I share at presentations that's a favorite for everyone, because I think people can relate, that I'll share with you now. That I have two boys who are now men. They're my boy men, and they're 23 and 28. And when they were, I guess they were 7 and 10, their dad and I got divorced, and I was really busy. I was a consultant to photographers, and I wrote books and lectured, but I always had made the choice to be mom first. So I didn't work until my boys were in full-time. I didn't work for more than 2 days a week till they were in school. And when my husband and I got divorced and my second book came out, I was flying all over the world whenever they were with their dad. And then when I was home, my office was in the house. And in our house, I had a meditation room. And when the boys were very little, and I was home, I, like yourself, would get stressed every once in a while. So I would go into the meditation room, which was right next door to where my boys' playroom was. And when they were little, one day I went in and I started to meditate. And I let them know. I said, I'm going in to meditate. Would you be kind enough to just go upstairs, read a book, go on the computer, do whatever you'd like, have some quiet time. And it was, oh, Mamo, absolutely. We'd love to do that. So I went in and started to meditate, and I got very deep. And as soon as I started to go deep, suddenly I heard all this laughing outside the door, wrestling, and bodies being thrown into the door. So I very calmly got myself up. I went to the door and I stuck my head out and I said, hey, I'm trying to meditate. Will you guys just be considerate and go off? Oh, no problem, Mama. We'll do that. Sorry. So once again, I sat myself down and I got myself centered, and I'm going really deep to quiet. And out of nowhere, there was this huge thud of a body being thrown into the door. And without thinking about it, I went from this very deep, lovely state. I jumped up, I pulled open the door, and I screamed at the top of my lung, what are the blank you doing? And I just screamed at these two little boys. And they looked at me horrified. Like, where did their mother go and who was this imposter? And I was wondering the same thing. And I share this because it's so easy to be so disconnected from our core source when we don't have enough that's filled up. And when we learn how to respond to life little by little from the frequencies of love, we build those energies. So it's not surprising that your kids would trigger you, because kids, you know, they are great reflections there. It's our parents, it's our partners, it's our kids. But we have the choice to choose to learn how to not be in that emotional state. And we do this simply by using our daily life as the platform for our spiritual transformation, by learning how to respond from love.
Yeah.
So that's what we
I
do.
find when you're talking about response, it's like if I'm nurturing yourself, like you were saying, if I'm not offering kindness to my kids, offering kindness to myself, or,
Yes.
you know, for me, many times it's about nurturing, right? That I am withholding love from them because I'm withholding from myself. I'm not giving myself the
Absolutely.
nurturing time that I need. I've gotten many times into the space if I don't have time to do, you know, to do my spiritual practice, or to do my meditation, to prayer, to do my creative practice. And then when I don't do those things, it's like my fuse is so short,
Right.
and I react so much faster than when I am doing those other things. So yeah, it's a different way to look at it. So I like the perspective shift, Selena.
Right, and it's a choice. It's definitely a choice. You know, there's a visual I ask people to think about, and for the people listening, I'd ask you to just close your eyes for a second and visualize a circle. Visualize a golden circle. And visualize the center of this circle. The center of this circle is the center of you. This is the space where your wisdom lies. This is your soul level. This is the space where you're quiet, where peace is experienced. This is the holy, holy, holy space that is always accessible to you. Now, see a star revolving very quickly on the outside of the peripheral of the circle that this center is in the core of. That star that is racing around, that's you. That's you every single day. All the responsibilities with your children, with your partner, with your roommates, with your employees, with the people you interact with all the things you have to do, that star is racing faster and faster and faster and faster around the perimeter of that circle, far disconnected from the source in the middle where your wisdom lies, where your holiness is, where your abundance is. And so when you're racing around this perimeter, unless you stop to access the core, it's inaccessible to you. So you can open your eyes now. And you can see that as we go through our daily life, unless we choose to access that core. Now, some people access that core. They think it's the practice of prayer or meditation or yoga. And those are wonderful practices that give you access. But what about if during your day, when the stress was happening, you had the ability, when your child mouths off or is what you consider disrespectful, or the person in front of you cuts you off, or somebody scoops a subway seat, or you're in a race to get dinner on the table and you've stopped by this store and you've got 10 minutes to get in and out, and you're on that express line with your eggs and milk for tomorrow, and somebody in front of you has a basket full of stuff, and you just find yourself like getting stressed because you can't get out the door. What if each and every one of those times you were able to notice it, to look while you're standing there on the express line, and you could look at your emotions, and then you could shift. You could decide, okay, I notice I'm getting stressed. That's not where I want to be. That doesn't serve me. So I'm going to have compassion. Maybe this woman in front of me in this basket, she's got more on her plate than I do. Maybe she's got somebody who's sick at home, or she's got many people she cares for and never has an opportunity to go to quiet. And maybe she just didn't notice what line she was in. And you can feel yourself completely shift because you're changing your whole energy. It's not just our attitude. Our attitude is an English word or a physical word rather that defines an energy state that you're in. You're choosing to shift from a low frequency state of judgment and anxiety to a higher frequency where you're invoking compassion. So that's an option we have. And if we chose that option and we practiced it and got good at it, which is very possible, I've done it for 20 years and many of my students have done it, then we're able to go through life and know that the difficulties and challenges become what? They become transformational tools to go to grace because we're choosing to use them as transformational tools. And so then when we go to yoga and do yoga or we go to meditation, we're going to that wonderful place, but we're able throughout our day to go in and out of these states until ultimately we are that state. Now, that's a very big part of practical spirituality, and it leads us to talk about the state of abundance, because most people think that abundance is a place you get to after doing all this work, or abundance is something that you finally get to at the end of the rainbow. Or maybe abundance is a thing that you can somehow go to a workshop and get. But abundance is actually a collection of high frequency experiences. And each time you go to patience, patience is a manifestation of abundance. Each time you go to kindness, you're accessing a manifestation of abundance. So each time you're able to respond to life from love, you're actually bringing out the abundance that is already within you. So I can't make you be an abundant person. I can't, as a teacher, it's not my job, because you already are abundant. As a teacher, it's my job to introduce you to who you already are and to provide you with tools to access the abundance within you. And this whole practice of responding to life from love, that's the quickest, most direct access that I know to access abundance, because we've already decided and discussed that life in the physical world is full of difficulties and chaos. So it's how we choose to use them. So if we want to choose to use them for the increase of our consciousness, that means we learn how to respond to all of them from love. Because when we respond from love, we are abundant. And we are creating that frequency within us because we live in the physical world. There are rules here in the physical world like gravity. Gravity is a rule. We work with that. Well, one of the other physical rules in this world is you can't just think something and make it happen. I have not met anybody in all of my travels in the world of spirit, and I've hung with some very heavy-duty people who can think something and make it happen. I think when we get to that level, we're probably, kind of evolving off the planet. So we're here, and we have to not only have an intention, we have to act on that intention, because that's one of the rules of the physical world. You don't go up to a wall with a hammer and a nail when you want to hang a photograph and look at the nail and the hammer in front of the wall and say, okay, here we are, enter the wall. You put the nail up to the wall and you hammer it in. Well, when you hold an intention to use your life as your practice, then you got to start doing the work. You have to say, okay, what experience in my life is the best experience to work with? Which relationship do I have that I know I choose, not emotionally charges me, because nothing emotionally charges you. You choose to allow it. You choose to allow yourself to be charged by it. So I would ask you to take a moment and think about the relationship in your life that charges you the most. Is it a mother-in-law, or is it a sister? Is it a partner, romantic partner, or a teenager, or maybe it's a neighbor or a coworker? And we're going to go through a practice now to show you what it feels like to have our states change. And I call this practice, Wouldn't It Be Nice? So what I'd like you to do, if you would, is put down your journal for a moment, put down your pencil, and get comfy in your chair. And close your beautiful eyes and take a very deep breath, very comfortable deep breath. Okay, blow it out. Take another breath in. And allow this to release the body very easily, very, very easily. Take a third breath in whenever it's comfortable for you. And allow that breath as well to ease out of the body. And now comfortably, just breathe. Make any adjustments in your seat that you need for your body to have maximum comfort. And as you're breathing comfortably, keep your attention on your breath. Feel and watch the rise and fall of the chest. Allowing yourself to relax more and more with each breath you take. Allow any noises in the room that you're in or outside to take you more deeply into your state of relaxation. And now in this place, I invite you to remember. Think of the person that you just identified, the relationship. And remember a time in recent history, maybe a week, maybe a few days ago, where you were in conversation or in interaction with this person and you felt your emotions charged. Maybe they said something or they did something and you just knew what was the right thing for them. You knew that whatever they were saying was wrong. And you knew better. You know, we're told in our life to keep our thoughts to ourselves. Right now, this is your opportunity. Let them have it. Tell them exactly what they're doing wrong. Tell them exactly how you're feeling. Tell them what they need to do differently. Go for it. Give it to them with both engines going. Give it to them fully and notice how you feel. Now you're going to bring this episode to a close. And you may notice that your emotions are really pretty charged right now. You've just told them exactly what they do wrong and exactly what they should be doing because you know what's right. So you're going to take a deep breath now, and I want you to blow it out because you're going to blow this experience and this energy right out of your body. Take a deep breath in and blow it out. And now take another deep breath in and blow that out. And now go back to a very comfortable breath, allowing the rise and fall of the chest. If your emotions have been engaged, let them calm down. Begin to relax the body again. And get to a place of comfort as best you can. And now once again, I'm going to ask you to visualize this experience in great detail, but this time, instead of blasting them with both cannons, you're going to say to yourself, when you see the situation and you start to feel your emotions rise, you're going to say, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if my sister spoke well of me? Fill in the blank for yourself. So begin now to see this experience. See it in great detail. Hear the words that they said that began to get your emotional body supercharged. And as you're listening to these words and your body is starting to get tight and tense, take a breath and say, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if my son did his homework? Wouldn't it be nice if my ex-husband was kind to me? Wouldn't it be nice if my subway seat didn't get scooped and I could sit down? Whatever that situation is, say that now. Wouldn't it be nice? And notice how you feel. Wouldn't it be nice? Now, when you're ready, come back into your body, come back into the room, open your eyes, and rejoin the group. So, my dear Amber, what was your experience?
So my experience was last week, my son, this is my son, is my relationship I choose.
Thank goodness for our kids. Where would our spiritual evolvement be without our kids, right?
So he was upset with me because he hadn't done his chores, and I told him that if he wasn't doing his chores, he wasn't going to get a privilege. And he was supposed to go on a shark dive, and I said, you need to pull this together, you're not going to go on your shark dive. And he sat there for a while, and he got really pissed, and he picked up an ipu, which is like a gourd drum that was my mother's. My mother passed away when I was younger. And he picked it up and he smashed it on the ground into bits and pieces. And he went into his room, and I was like so mad and hurt. And I walked in. So what I did was I walked in and I told him that he could never replace what he just broke. And he said, well, I don't care. He was so mad. And what happened was I just fell apart and I started crying. And because seeing on the ground, I'm getting emotional. Seeing on the ground, like I remembered like my mother and I playing the drum together. And he came out and he hugged me. He said he was so sorry, right? And part of me really wanted to comfort him, and part of me was really just so sad and mad. And so, I held him, but there was a part, like I knew he was feeling really bad about it. And there was a way that I could make him feel even worse about it. And I kind of did, like by saying, talking about my mom and saying that, now it's gone and it can never go back. And, that like just really kind of drumming in that. And so that was what I did. And when we went to the wouldn't it be nice, I thought, well, yes, I thought, wouldn't it be nice if he did his chores? Wouldn't it be nice if he didn't smash that? But I was also thinking, wouldn't it be nice if I just kept my mouth shut,
Yes. Good for you. Yeah. So there's, wouldn't it be nice about another person's behavior? And then wouldn't it be nice about your own? And so how did you feel? Did you have any difference between when you were in that first time and you were feeling all that anger about what happened, and then the different time with wouldn't it be nice? Was there any difference in how you felt?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first time I was feeling angry, I was feeling emotional, sad, and like kind of righteous, like, like I was right. And then when I moved into wouldn't it be nice, it was like there was some extra space around it, and also something of acceptance of him, like that, yeah, it would be nice, but that's not him.
And and it's not him now. It wasn't him in that moment. But he's more than that moment, and he's more than that act. But that act was what you chose to use, and you saw that you could bring in some space around that very difficult loss that you had and the history you already have with him. And so you brought space around the loss, you brought space around the history, but you also brought space around a giving to yourself, because you said, wouldn't it be nice if I could? So that wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice? 4 words. Carrie, it seems to some people, I'm sure, like, oh, like this is like, really? Like, wouldn't it be nice? Does it really make that difference? When you go through the practice, if you give it the space, it makes a difference, because we are in a different energy when we're in that place where we're righteous, as you had said, beautiful word. Spiritual people can get very righteous. One of the most difficult places for spiritual people now is around what's happening in the government in the United States, because so many spiritual people are having very big difficulty with our president. And there's so much righteousness that's coming out, and that doesn't serve regardless of how we feel. So that's another example of, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if we had a president that was kind and open-hearted and loving? And when we bring that frequency in, we're bringing the frequency of love into that space. So wouldn't it be nice is a huge, simple, important, powerful tool, because it gives us the opportunity to actually change our space. So if there's any relationship or experience in your life where you want to bring in a different frequency, after it's happened, as Amber did with her son, or you're going to be seeing somebody that you have difficulty with, and you want to practice the getting together and the experience beforehand, the time you might be spending, and visualize it the way you'd like it to be. Wouldn't it be nice if when we got together, we had a great conversation rather than barely being able to stand each other's company? Then you can use that even before. So this is a very powerful practice of practical spirituality that helps you to shift your energy, because we are not victims. It's our behavior that really creates the next moment in our life. Anything could land in our life. It's how we respond to it that really creates the next moment. So wouldn't it be nice is a wonderful practice. And along with wouldn't it be nice is another practice that we don't need to go through, but they're words. And the words are, isn't that curious? And I was first introduced to the word curious by Pema Chodron years ago, who's a wonderful Buddhist teacher. But I took the word curious and made a practice from it. So what I do, I noticed my own judgment all over the place when I started to watch my judgment about 20 years ago. It was horrifying for me, because when you start to get present to watching yourself, and you have a particular place you want to land, like I'm working with my judgment, so I want to watch and see and notice how I am in the world. It was so, it wasn't humbling, it was horrifying, because I saw my judgment everywhere. So I created a practice that's been so helpful for my students and incredibly helpful for me. I'd be walking down the streets of New York or wherever I lived at the time or wherever I was always noticing, because I'm a very visual person and I love color and I love fashion. And I would notice what people were wearing, and every once in a while I would go, what was that woman thinking? Or what was that person thinking? And that was one of the places. Or I'd be on the phone and I'd be trying to reach, the electric company, and I'd be on hold forever. And by the time they got on, whoever they were never smart enough. They were never polite enough. And I was just a bear. And so I would look at my behavior and I would say, isn't that curious? Isn't that curious that I was judgmental of that person? Or isn't that curious that that person decided to dress that way? So I would notice whatever my judgment was, and I would change my judgment, the frequency around that person, by saying, isn't that curious? And then I would say, isn't it curious that I needed to go to that practice, or that I held judgment again? Because as soon as I noticed it, if I held myself in low regard, or started to be angry with myself because of my judgment, what would I be doing? I'd be creating more of that anger. So there's so many different levels to this. When you see your judgment, notice it. Say, cancel that, because you're pulling a plug out of the wall. You're canceling that electrical vibration of who you were and that judgment you just had, and you replace it with, isn't that curious? Isn't that curious? They decided to walk down the street barefoot with those little springs on the bottom of their feet. Isn't it curious that I chose to judge them as a wacko? Isn't that curious that I wasn't able to hold them in love? And isn't that curious that I wasn't able to hold myself in love? And so what happens is you keep these words, isn't that curious, in your front pocket, is you have another tool to replace low frequency vibration that you create as you move through your life. And as you stop that low frequency and you replace it with, isn't that curious, which is an open state, just like, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice? You can't say, wouldn't it be nice, with a scowl on your face. It's an open state. You can't say, isn't that curious, without feeling open. And so when we place ourselves in those states consciously and willingly, then the next moment we create, we have much more of an opportunity to be an open state. And so those are the practices I wanted to share today with everybody, to give you a small taste of how practical spirituality actually works. There's a lot more, it gets a lot deeper, but this is a beginning to see that we have choice in our life, and we have choices every second in our life, and how we choose creates the next moment in our life. So when we choose to respond from a frequency of love to others and to ourselves, our life becomes abundant, because we're sitting inside those frequencies all the time. And we are our attention. So when our attention is rooted in abundant behavior, like understanding and wouldn't it be nice, and isn't that curious, and patience and kindness, then we can't not be any other way.
I love this. Thank you so much, Selina. I've got, it's really cool that you use those two different practices when we're talking about acting on intention and and it's the practical part, right? So I love that you gave a practice for like afterwards, if you're kind of like, wow, I blew it. Okay. Or that didn't go over well, to like go back and to be able to go into like the, wouldn't it be nice? And I also like that that we can use that tool also beforehand. Like if you're kind of like, all right, this could be a family Thanksgiving is coming. This could be a crazy situation, right? So like you be in the, wouldn't it be nice, like kind of prepping with love, like ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then,
and you could be sitting at the table too. You could be sitting at that Thanksgiving table with everybody going wild, right? Sorry to interrupt, but you could just sit at that table with everybody going wild and say to yourself, how curious. Isn't that curious, right?
totally. And there we go. In the moment one. So you gave us like a before, in the moment, after practices. So that's awesome. Thank you for the practical, spirituality for us to start to play with that. And I know for me that you talk a lot about frequency. Yeah. And about, for people that aren't necessarily, connected with those words, it's like being like feeling good, like your energy feels good or it feels crummy, right? So looking at ways to feel that when we feel good, we attract more of that. We bring more of that in. We create more of that with other people. And so I love that these tools are ways to do that, right? Mm-hmm. If you want to be happier, more joyful, more peaceful, mm-hmm. more abundant, like this is the way to do it. Yeah. Is focusing.
And yes. And also I think it's important for people to understand that life isn't always happy, and life isn't always joyful, and that's okay, because we can pull so much from that. When we see that an experience is happening and we're not able to respond from love, because this is such a question that people have all the time, and understandably so. Well, I can't be loving, I can't be kind, something has really happened, or I'm just very depressed. I can't experience that. Then what you can always do is you can sit inside of where you are, and you can give yourself love. You can just pour forth into yourself white light. You can just sit and say, okay, right now, I see that I'm not experiencing love, and I'm just going to sit here and do whatever I can right now to make myself feel comfortable. And holding that space for yourself of, wouldn't it be nice if I could? And right now, what can I do that could be the kindest thing for me, that would give me the most, the most ease? Because sometimes it's ease we have to give ourselves. So I think it's important that people understand that while, yes, we want to be joyous, there are times we're not. And so at that point, we can use practical spirituality as well to say, what can I do to be kind to me? Because being kind to me is always the most important aspect. We are responsible for ourselves. And as we are responsible for ourselves, we will make wise choices that will resonate with other people in terms of the frequency of the oneness. So if we all took good care of ourselves, let's think about how wonderful this world would be. So we are the people we need to take care of.
Love that. We are the people we need to take care of. Yes! That's
and women need to learn this, because we're so used to taking care of other people, we forget where we are on our own grace list.
Yeah.
We need to be at the top of our grace list.
So ladies, thank you, Selina, thank you so much. Ladies, I would love for you to share it in the Facebook group. There's a couple different things that you can play with based on our conversation. Your ahas from kind of like a nugget for you, like, oh, this was so good, like I really got this. Would love for you to share that. And then also we're looking at, I loved the question that Selina posed, that was, what is the frequency of love that I need to give myself? Or what is that thing that, when you're in situations and when stuff is like getting brought up, what is it that you're withholding that you actually need to give yourself? Would love for you to share that in the group. And of course, images most welcome of your note taking. So Selina, again, thank you so much. Now you have something special for our audience. You mentioned it earlier as a way for them to up their frequency and to be in high vibe more often. So can you share some about that?
Sure. We were talking about being able to notice where you are, and when you and noticing your emotions and learning how to respond to life's events, from the low frequencies to the high frequencies of patience and kindness and compassion. Each one of these states of understanding and tolerance, they have a different frequency, a different vibration. And there's a time where understanding is important, or there's a time that patience is called for yourself, as you said, Amber, as well as for other people. We're looking at ourselves first always, and then the other person in the experience. So the gift I have is an MP3, and it is a beautiful meditation that gives you the opportunity to experience unconditional love. Unconditional love is a very high vibration, and this is what you can fill your being with, so that when you need to respond from kindness or patience, you will have a spiritual bank account filled from doing this practice and others that you can tap into, so that you have the high energy to respond to with patience or kindness or whatever is needed. It takes less than 10 minutes. And I have had people utilize this meditation and tell me they were so relaxed to other people who had very transformative experiences. So please use that. And then, of course, you can contact me. And if you're on a spiritual path and you don't know if I'm the right teacher, or if a teacher is really what you need, feel free to tap in and set an appointment with me. And I'm more than happy to speak with you. And we can find that out as well.
Yay! So ladies, right below the video here is the link for you to access that audio, that meditation, to really tap into unconditional love and to feel the vibe, and then to feel really good about it, right? It's kind of like filling the tank up, filling the cup up, ladies, spiritual cup. So thank you for that. As well as, I know this is the way that I feel, is there's this, whenever I do one of these retreats, there's this cross-pollination thing that happens, right? Different people come, different audiences come, and it's you're able to tune into your teachers or your coach or whoever you feel is supposed to help you, in the next step. And you feel a resonance with them. You feel like, oh, it's my person. So if you're feeling like Selina is your person, definitely reach out. She's got many years of experience, both for herself as well as helping many other people connect to their practical spirituality. So Selina, thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed being here.
Yay. All right, ladies, thank you so much. We'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for giving yourself this gift. And remember, as you're moving now throughout your day, isn't that curious? All right. Bye, everybody.
Wonderful.